Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky is quite the profound book. Its contents are very rich and complex. The characters have a lot of mystery behind them. You know, it's an overall very nice book. In fact, I read it in about 3 minutes. Small, insightful paragraph on the back right here. It told me everything I needed to know about it. This is how I used to read books. I simply went on to SparkNotes or ChatGPT and read the summaries. And well, it worked. I never really failed any of my tests. I always got good results, and I prided myself on having read so many books. I asked myself, why should I bother reading a 500-page book when I can just go online and read summaries, analyses, or articles about it? One day, a friend came up to me and asked, "Hey, you've read Crime and Punishment, right? What does Svidrigailov's dream really mean?" I had forgotten who Svidrigailov even was. I was beyond embarrassed. I couldn't remember such a critical detail about one of the novels I prided myself so much on having read. This was the point where I started to realize that my reading habits weren't really getting me anywhere. I simply passed my tests, then forgot every detail I read in the summaries. I was scrolling through Instagram around that time when I found a clip of Jordan Peterson. He said that the difference between reading the summaries and reading the full book is like the difference between a photograph and a painting. The photograph is a quick snapshot. It shows you the main things you need to observe. But with a painting, you go on layering and adding more depth into it and pouring your emotions onto the canvas. It's not a mere snapshot. It's an entire journey. After hearing those words and not being able to answer questions about what I had read, I felt like I was missing out. I wanted to know what it was like to be so impacted by a piece of literature to the point where I'd keep thinking about it for days. So I picked up Crime and Punishment once again and started reading. I won't lie and say it was easy to get into the habit of reading. I procrastinated. I often slept in the middle of reading without a clue of where I left off the next day. But by devoting 10 to 30 minutes each day to reading, I completed Crime and Punishment in a month and a half. Over time, I no longer had to convince myself to read. I'd get so invested in the plot or content to the point where I'd start reading for pleasure. No matter what kind of book I read, whether digital or handheld, reading was no longer a chore. The truth is that if you don't read the full book, you'll never come to truly understand its impact. If you don't try to live through the experiences in the book, you'll never get to know the tiny details that matter. Good authors are more than just writers. They're artists. They paint each detail with the intent of guiding the readers to an epiphany. And you'll never know what such an epiphany feels like until you try to read in depth and analyze the author's choices. Now, when you go home, I want you to not only think about what you've heard today, but also act on it. Strive to experience that eureka, that illumination, that epiphany for yourself. Pick up that one book abandoned on your shelf, sit down, and enjoy a good book. Thank you.